So thank you so much, Chris, for that introduction, and Robin as well as chair of the board, and to the chamber, and to all of you. I know there are so many things that you could be doing right now and not listening to me. I'm sure your businesses are all waiting for you to get back, but thank you for coming. I've been mayor for 4.5 years, a little more than 4.5 years now, with about 3.5 to go. I am term limited, but I am not a lame duck. We've talked with the staff that we are going to do everything we can. We're really going to try and get it all done so the next mayor will have nothing to do. That's what we decided. But I really do love my job, and I'm grateful that I was reelected last fall. One of the reasons why, you've heard me say this before probably, but I love my job, number one, because I have great staff to work with. They're professional, they're talented, they're committed, they have a heart, they are truly servant leaders. As we've all learned in Leadership Knoxville, that's what we strive to be. And I want to recognize a few of them who are here today. 2 deputies to the mayor, Bill Lyons, who has been here since Bill Haslam was the mayor, and comes from being a professor and public policy expert from the University of Tennessee. Christy Branscombe, who's deputy to the mayor and COO. Bill's chief policy officer and deputy, and Christy is COO and deputy to the mayor. And y'all know her business background is lawyer and broker, owns a construction company, very talented, and has brought a lot to the city. Terry Alexander, y'all may not know Terry unless you've had to schedule something with me, and then you love Terry. Terry Alexander, stand up, Terry, so they see you. Everybody knows Bill and Christy. Terry's my executive assistant, and I couldn't do this without her. I think I saw Patricia Robledo. Where's Patricia? Over there's Patricia Robledo, our business liaison with the Office of Business Support. Did I miss any city staff who are here? They're all busy at work. Also, I have a great council to work with. We have a 9-member council, and I think these 9 really hit their stride early on and have worked so well together. We don't always agree, they don't always agree, but they work really well together. And you see, it's all about civility and dialogue, debate, and in the end, they vote and they move on to the next one. And it's been great to work with them, and I want to recognize, I think 4 of them are here. Our former mayor and our 6th district councilman, Dan Brown, who's here. George Wallace, where's George? Councilman at large. Finbar Saunders, councilman at large. And Mark Campen, a 5th district council member. I also understand we have John Schoonmaker. Where's John? From County Commission. Anybody else from County Commission? That's another thing that we work so closely. Every one of my constituents is also Mayor Burchett's constituent, right? Because all of us who live in the city are also part of the county. So we consider it among our staff and my administration, it's very important to us to have a good working relationship with Mayor Burchett and with his staff. And there aren't too many days that pass that we aren't talking one way or the other, or our staff aren't communicating on doing what's best for the city and the county. So we appreciate that relationship that we have with the county administration and with county commission. So I thought today, rather than digging deep into any one topic, that I would really give you the big picture of how our city is growing and evolving, and a lot of the different things that we are working on, that we're called to work on. It's always interesting during campaigns when people will say, I'm going to focus on 2 things. And they tell you what they are. And having worked in city government under Bill Haslam, I think there's no way you're only going to work on 2 things. There are a lot of things that people want you to address. And if you're really going to grow, continue to grow and be a great city and continue to grow to reach our potential as a great city, then you have to focus on a lot of different issues. So I'm going to give you kind of that broad picture, but then stop in time. Are we here till 9? Basically. So make sure we have plenty of time for questions. So, and I have no worries about the questions you'll ask, because I have Bill and Christy and Patricia here and Terry here to help answer. I also want to recognize, actually, my first COO and deputy to the mayor, Eddie Manish. You all know him very well. He was with us for about a year and a half or so, and then went back to his private sector, went back to his business. But I said he continues on as an unpaid senior advisor and really good friend. So I really appreciate you, Eddie. So one of the best things, Well, when we started, we, as a team in my administration, and really during the campaign, talked about having a vision for what Knoxville could be and how all of it ties together. And so we said, and actually when Chris introduced me, he mentioned some of those things that we focus on. You know, the very basic thing is that we want to deliver outstanding city services. We want to give them to you at a good value because, you know, it's your taxes that pay for them. And we want to be responsive to the community and provide the services they want. The most basic, of course, and probably the most important is public safety, our police and fire. And under Chief Roush and Chief Sharp, we have excellent leadership. We have excellent professionally trained law enforcement and fire protection. They do a good job every single day. Public service is our third large department, and those are a lot of the blue collar workers, the people that day in and day out, they manage the transfer station and the recycling and hazardous household waste. They put up all the lights at Christmas. They clean up after events. They patch potholes and sidewalk, do minor sidewalk walk repairs. They do all kinds of projects and maintenance and provide services throughout the city. They're sort of the unsung heroes because they're not in a uniform like police and fire, so they don't often get the thanks that the police and fire get, but they are there every single day. Actually, 3 shifts typically over the weekends, over the holidays when the rest of us are enjoying life and our families. So I'm very proud of the work that they do for us. 311 is something actually started under Bill Haslam, but we have continued, which is, you know, where you call to if you have a complaint. We want to know if there's something that you don't like. You can also call if there's something you do like. We'll register that as well. But it's really there to say this is the kind of service we need, and we track that. We track it, and we have a way of tracking how soon we're able to address that problem. And that's reports that we get on a regular basis. So delivering those outstanding city services. The next thing is really to focus on our neighborhoods. We know that great cities have great neighborhoods, and we have a lot of great neighborhoods in this city, from different means, you know, from very affordable housing to very expensive housing, you know, different kinds of neighborhoods, but we want all of them to be safe. We have an Office of Neighborhoods that works very closely with all of these neighborhoods. We encourage people to form neighborhood associations. It really helps us at the city to respond. There are always so many needs, and if every single neighbor in a neighborhood came in with a different priority, it would be very difficult for us to respond in a significant way. So we ask them to form neighborhood organizations and talk about what the priorities are and what can they do themselves to make their neighborhoods better. And then where do we need to be a partner in doing that? Of course, our community development department and our codes departments are all really critical to maintaining and preserving and growing better neighborhoods. We focus on being a healthier community and a higher quality of life. We do this through providing things like sidewalks so people get out and walk and be healthier, and that's a big demand. And you all have heard some of the controversies lately there are a lot of people that want sidewalks. They're very expensive, but we put money in the budget every single year for more and more sidewalks throughout our community so our kids and our adults can walk more. Bike lanes, greenways, the natural trails, parks, sports facilities, the sports leagues. There's all kinds of recreational opportunities that we provide through our city budget. There's also, we work with partners like Legacy Parks Foundation, and that we've had a big focus on the urban wilderness in South Knoxville. Over 1,000 acres, all connected together. We're working to connect it all together, where people can go out and right in the heart of our city experience nature, and mountain bikers can come out, and joggers and walkers can follow those trails. We have IAMS Nature Center. We have the Battlefield Loop, Ford Dickerson Park. We have about 10 city parks that are part of this urban wilderness. And the really cool thing about the urban wilderness is that a good portion of the trails, of the 50 some miles of trails that are out there now, first of all, were built by volunteers. Public service will bring some gravel or this and that, but it's built by volunteers. And a lot of it, well, all of it's built by volunteers, but a good portion of it is on private property. So a certain amount of the trails go through city parks, but as private property owners who have said, we're going to grant you an easement and you can build a trail through my property. In fact, people are moving south, buying property and wanting trails to come through because they know the value of that. So now, I live in South Knoxville, and I've seen just in the last 15 years that I've lived there, the changing attitude and the changing perception of South Knoxville. Now it's a place to go for outdoor recreation. And by the way, this isn't just good for our health, it's good for our economy. The neighborhoods, the housing is more valuable now, particularly if you're near one of those trails. And we know that outdoor recreation, last I heard, was about an $8 billion industry just in the state of Tennessee alone. We want our share of it, and we want to grow that. And already we're getting national recognition for the urban wilderness and the assets that we have. The 2 quarries there, there's rock climbing now. And so when you put all of that together with the river and with the other lakes in our area, we are a place where people come for recreation. And of course, the Smoky Mountains National Park, we can't forget that. So altogether, that is really something. Our natural beauty and our natural resources are something that we have to preserve, and it's something that we have that are there for us to use, and there are more and more people that want to get out and use those. So that's the quality of some of the quality of life and a healthier community. We focus on a vibrant city core. We want downtown to be totally revitalized. We're well on our way. There's a lot, there aren't too many buildings left that haven't been bought up and are in the process of being restored or renovated. A lot of big announcements we've had over the last few years about that. And what we try to do is to encourage reinvestment where there has been disinvestment. We've really followed that mantra from Bill Haslam's administration. We really focus on reinvestment from the core out, from the heart of the city out. We know that if we have a lot of great commercial development on the outskirts of town, that's great, of downtown and the outskirts of our city, that's great. But if the heart is weak, if the heart is not strong, then the whole city weakens. And this is, we have so much investment already downtown through sidewalks and infrastructure and parking garages and parking lots and all of that, that it makes sense from a sustainability perspective, from an economic standpoint, to reinvest where you already have so much of that built infrastructure. And we have seen people respond to it. We are like cities across the country where people are coming back. And if you don't live, who lives downtown? There's a few people. Who comes downtown? Look at that, right? Now, 10 years ago, who came downtown regularly? A few hands there, right? But so people want to come downtown. And now, Sunday afternoon, nothing going on the square, tons of people. Right, kids playing in the water feature and such. So, so that's not just the city. That's all of us together. The private sector, the city government, the people who chose to move to Knoxville, to move downtown. And I know a few of you thought you were just going to come downtown for a short time while your house was getting repaired in another neighborhood, and then they never left, right? So we've got several of those who just fell in love with downtown. So we've got new construction downtown now. Look at Marble Alley Lofts. That's significant because a lot of the residential living has been in the older buildings, restoring the older buildings. Now we're seeing new construction like Marble Alley. And so that's all good news for our city. We're seeing more corporate headquarters and businesses coming back. For a while, a lot of businesses were leaving, and now many of them want to come back. Tombrus, moving into the old green KUB building. Of course, Regal having the corporate headquarters of a major company like them right on our waterfront, with 375 plus workers in that building that's been vacant for 8 years, the building right at the edge of the Gay Street Bridge. That's going to be a significant asset in terms of continuing to rebuild downtown and the South Waterfront. Something that Bill Haslam recognized when he was mayor was that for years, the city grew by expanding our boundaries, right, through annexation. But what he focused on, and what we have continued to focus on, is building from within. Bringing people back into that core, until again where that built infrastructure, and where all that opportunity is. And two of our biggest opportunities for new development is the South Waterfront, and in terms of industrial and commercial along I-275, that corridor there. And so that's what we continue to focus on, both of those areas significantly. Another thing that's really helped our vibrant city core are special events, the different types of activities, some that we sponsor, but now a lot of nonprofits, and there's festivals. We're known for the Big Ears Festival and the International Biscuit Festival. Is John here? Started that, John Craig. The Rossini Festival, Ola Festival, now an Asian festival. I think it's this weekend maybe, or pretty soon. So there are so many events to bring people downtown, and it creates community in that process. It's not just good for the economy, but it does a lot to create community. Of course, the World's Fair Park continues to draw big crowds for different events as well. So focusing on that urban core. Now, that doesn't mean we're not doing things out throughout the city. If you go to our city website and look at the engineering department, for an example, and look at the projects, you will see we are investing in infrastructure throughout the city. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We also want to focus on being a greener city, a more sustainable city. We have, as was mentioned earlier, huge assets in terms of our natural resources. And we are a mountain city. We are a river city. That is something that, I travel a lot as mayor to different mayor things, and every time meetings, and every time I go into a city, like we were just in Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a great city, but you look out and it's flat out there, right? And a lot of several cities are like that. When you come home, you look out and you see Knoxville, and if you're up in the Club LeConte, thank you. And you look out, it's breathtaking. You go to the observation deck at the Sun Sphere, it is breathtaking what we have here. So I have really, everywhere I go, I just come home even more proud of our town and the possibilities, what we've already done and the possibilities. But one of the big things is planning for the future. What town, what kind of a city, what kind of a region will our children inherit, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren? And that means we have to be greener. We need to be more sustainable. Now, we've improved over the years. I didn't live here now, but I heard the stories of when there was coal soot all over Knoxville. How many of you were around long enough to remember that? A few. We've gotten a lot better, but we have a lot more to go. We know that greenhouse gas emissions have a negative impact. We have high allergies. Our kids, our population has a huge asthma and allergy problem. So we have focused on that. We have focused on energy efficiency. Again, we've carried this on from Bill Haslam, started the Energy and Sustainability Task Force, and I co-chaired that with Bill under Mayor Haslam. But we focused on ourselves becoming more energy efficient. We have retrofitted all 99 or so city facilities to make them more energy efficient and better use of our resources. We are the kind of development we do now with streetscapes, or a greener type of development. Some of this is required by stricter regulations, but also we know that the more that we can manage this on site, the less impact, where's Mentha, on stormwater and on our systems on down the road. And we know that the flooding, we have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars over the years on addressing flooding issues. So we're trying to plan ahead and develop in a way that we don't have the same flooding issues as we have in the past. Urban agriculture is something that we work with many partners on to bring, and that's something that's very attractive to many people. Who would have thought, we had, this is before I was mayor, but council allowed chickens in the city, and that's been an amazing change in terms of thinking of how you can become more self-sufficient and how we can promote growing healthy food for people right here. Even Randy Boyd, Randy is our great business person from here, and our Commissioner of Economic and Community Development has made it possible for an urban garden to be built out right there in the old city. So recycling and expanding public transit. We even have an urban forester. We know that having a great tree canopy is good for the environment, plus it helps property values and it cools our city down during hot times. So we have looked at all different ways that we can become greener and more sustainable. And not only is it the right thing for the planet, but it also ultimately saves money for the taxpayers when we do it right. We're also been working with KUB. We hope to be able to put in LED streetlights, which will be a huge saver of both consumption of, which leads to greenhouse gas emissions, but also it'll save money for us ultimately in the long run. So the next big focus has been, we think all of these things really help to build a stronger economy. We want businesses to flourish. That's one reason why we established the Office of Business Support when I first became mayor. We wanted, just like the Office of Neighborhoods, we wanted businesses to have a place to go to say, hey, how do I walk through this process, or explain to me these rules? Some of you who've been working with the city for years, you know it. You know how that is. But for those new businesses, for those new people that we want to get up and running, sometimes they need to have for their hands to be held, right, to understand the process. Also, the economy's changing. There are new businesses, and sometimes we don't have regulations. We don't know, there's not a way for these businesses to do business without coming to the city and working that out. The food trucks are one example, and Patricia took what was started out as kind of a controversial issue and worked through with brick and mortar and restaurants and the food trucks, and ended up with a policy that council was able to pass. We also work closely with the chamber. Every 2 weeks, at a minimum, we're meeting with Rhonda and Mike and Doug Lawyer and Todd Napier and Art Kate from KCDC, and then our city staff, to talk about business opportunities, jobs, expansions, recruitments. So we keep close tabs. We're very grateful for the relationship that we have with the Chamber and the Development Corporation and with Innovation Valley. To make sure that as a region, we continue to be an attractive place and encourage business development. We worked with partners to develop the Knoxville Entrepreneur Center just downstairs a couple of years ago now, right? That actually 3 years now? Yeah, 3 years, wow. And they are accomplishing great things down there. So there is one thing that all of these different partners worked on that I wanted to be sure, I was asked to make sure we talked about. One is, and this is a regional branding campaign. You all know that, what's our area code? 865, right? 865. So we're calling this effort Celebrate 65. Celebrate 65, 865, right? CELEBR 865, got it. And there's some billboards that are around town right now, and there is a website, celebrate65.com. And so the idea is to have a brand that is flexible enough to represent our whole region, but then specific enough so that people can identify with it. So right now we have Innovate 65 for our entrepreneurial and startup culture, Create 65 to represent all of our creative and artistic communities, Recreate 65 to promote our outdoor and cultural activities, and Locate 65, which ties into the Chamber's industrial recruitment efforts. So this was cooked up by folks at the Entrepreneur Center and the Chamber and city and county staff, Visit Knoxville, and some other partners there. So there's a lot of opportunity. You may think of your own. Educate 65 for our schools, Participate 65 for volunteerism, and maybe even Legislate 65 for local government. But the idea is really for anyone who wants to take the campaign and use it to promote what they love about Knoxville and East Tennessee. It's an open source exercise in civic branding. So have fun with it. Another thing that we focus on is arts and culture to really support our all types of arts and culture that we have here in our city. Again, we know that's good for the heart and soul of a community, but it's also an economic generator. We embrace and celebrate our diversity. We want to be a welcoming city, a compassionate city. If you were at the Leadership Knoxville event recently where Mayor Fisher of Louisville, Kentucky came and talked about Louisville as a compassionate city. That's what we've been doing, really trying to make Knoxville a city that is open to all and where all can thrive. We also want to make sure that we protect the most vulnerable. We can't forget them as we do all the construction and all the renovation and that kind of work. We also have to focus on the most vulnerable and make sure that they're all that people in our city are able to reach their human potential. We have a mayor's table on mayor's roundtable on homelessness, working with all of our various partners throughout the city to address homeless issues. And we have a community plan that together we came up with and report on it. We have a dashboard that talks about our progress called the Knox HMIS, and that's in a partnership. It's a partnership with the University of Tennessee College of Social Work to keep that database for us. We work with children and families through, of course, supporting our youth groups that are out there. So many good youth groups that try to provide opportunities for our kids. We have a Knoxville Extreme Energy Makeover, which is a $15 million grant from TVA to work with CAC that CAC has received to provide energy efficiency upgrades to some 1,300 low-income folks, whether it's rental buildings or houses, people who can't afford to pay their utility bills. Every year, so many people are generous. We give extra money to KUB and to other agencies, to our churches, those funds go to helping people with their utility bills. We need to continue that, but what we are trying to do is, instead of having the Band-Aid, is to actually change the systemic problems, which is housing that is not energy efficient. Also, a big shout out to KUB. Their board accepted a recommendation from a plan that we all put together, a community plan to address the same issue, and they started the Rounded Up program, where all of our utility bills are rounded up to the next dollar. Now, you can opt out of it. You call and you can opt out, but we are very proud of the percentage. What percentage are we at now? Do you know that you stayed in? 67% of the people in this community said we are willing to be rounded up, so that money goes to energy efficiency upgrades as well. So thank you to Mentha and to her board for agreeing to do that, and to all the people who opt to stay in. If you opted out not knowing, you can always opt back in too. But that's good things. Also, as y'all know, we have really focused on the violence in our community, particularly among young men and boys of color, African-American men and boys. We have the Save Our Sons initiative, working with many of our community groups and youth serving groups, and that's something that with Chief Roush, it's something that, again, is extremely important. In terms of a city, compared to many cities, we don't have a violence problem comparatively, but we have, to me, anything that we have, when you see our kids that are dying, particularly people like Xavion Dobson, Jawan Latham, our young kids who are doing everything right, and they become a victim of the violence in the community, we have to focus on that. And there are too many, we don't want to lose our kids to this. And so join with us. One of the things that we ask people to do is hire a kid for the summer, hire a kid for after school, when we can help you connect with those kids. Hire somebody who's coming back from prison. We want to try and avoid the recidivism that is all too prevalent. And we've started a second chance program at the city through our public service department, well, we hire people coming out of prison and work with them. They're vetted. That we work with Connect Ministries, and we find people who want to work, who want to turn their life around and want to have an opportunity, and we give them that opportunity, and we can share that with you. So all of you who own businesses, think about that. Many of you probably already do, but if you'd like to do more and would like to connect with and participate in those types of activities, let us know. We'd be glad to help you figure that out. So another thing, I'm just going to talk a couple more minutes and open up for questions, but we have really focused on reorganizing city government departments in response to modern needs and to technologies. We just did a shift for our public assembly facilities and recognized that it would be that because these are event venues, that it would be much better to have a professional event and facility managers to run those. So we put out a bid, and SMG, who runs the convention center, was the successful bidder on that. We have reorganized building inspections and public service, and we're really, and somebody mentioned this to me today, we're really focusing on changing the culture in organizations to recognize that taxpayers are our customers, you know, that we serve them and provide the service, and should provide the services that they need in a customer-friendly way. We're like many of you, we've got that silver tsunami going on, that we have a lot of people who are ready for retirement and ready to retire. And that gives us an opportunity to really rethink how we do business. So I really want to thank Christy and her team, David Brayson, Senior Director of Public Works, for really being very proactive in figuring out how we run government more and more efficiently and more modern, you know, with addressing modern needs and technologies. Investing in the public infrastructure, the things that you don't get a lot of accolades for, or you know, it's not sexy, is to build a new public works complex. But that's something that we had to do. If you'd seen the old building where our employees worked, all of the public service folks, we had equipment sitting out. You spend a lot of money for equipment, and then we don't have adequate way to store it. Didn't meet any of our ADA regulations. And so anyway, we have invested $15 million. And if you drive on Interstate 40 West, you can see it off to the side there, and we'll be having a grand opening soon, I think. And what's coming up, y'all know we're looking at the convention, the Coliseum, and I'm sorry, the City Coliseum. Thank you. See why you always have to have great people working with you. The auditorium and the Civic Coliseum. And we've done the study, we know what we need to do, and we're in the process of figuring out how we can financially make that happen. Next thing we know, our police officers, the safety building over by the Coliseum, totally inadequate. And so we're looking at how we can provide new facilities for them. Those and more to come on that. We feel like that's part of our responsibilities, to make sure that we are keeping up with the times, and that in order to deliver the services that you expect, our people have to have the facilities and the equipment and such to do it. We're focused a lot on transparent government, pushing a lot of information out and seeking a lot of feedback. That's, Bill's forte, and we've had a lot of public hearings, a lot of public meetings, and listen to that. And then if you look at our website, you can follow. If you go to engineering, you go to redevelopment, community development, you will find lots of information of the projects that your taxpayers that your tax dollars are paying for, and get updates on where we are and all of that. So we've done all of this in a very fiscally sound way. We have maintained the highest ever bond rating for the city. We have a very comfortable fund balance. We have a low property tax rate, and we have added significant new city services over the past 15 years without growing the size of government, of our workforce. And our police department, just as an example, they have a crime clearance rate last year of 48%, which is well over the state average of 38%. So this is kind of what we've been doing and what some of our plans are. Our intention is to continue focusing on these areas over my next 3.5 years. we have many projects on the books we want to bring to completion, working with the private sector. And by the way, we know that every time we invest public dollars, we see the return through the private investment. The $17 million we're spending on Cumberland Avenue for the streetscape and the form-based code, the recreation of Cumberland Avenue. That's a $17 million project. I believe we already have $160 million in private investment that is on the books, or most of it's already underway. We know that thanks to KUB, I always brag about you. People get mad at us because they have to route around. It's either KUB or the city that's tearing up the street at any given time. But this is important. This is infrastructure investment. You hear about cities, states across the country that do not invest in their infrastructure. Their roads are crumbling. Their bridges are crumbling. KUB and their board, they made the tough decision. They were going to invest, and they are doing that. And then often with our projects, they go in first and do their upgrades. Then we come in and we coordinate that as best we can. And then we come in and do our investment, our streetscapes and such. So those are huge investments going on right now. At the university, $1 billion worth of construction is happening or about to happen at the university. Fort Sanders, anybody here from the hospitals? There are several expansions in the hospital. So we are seeing huge investment, not only from the public sector, but from the private sector as well, which I think is good for our community. We do have challenges, however. We still, as I said, there's too many young people that are not achieving their potential, and we need your help in working with us, and the service providers, the youth service providers need your help. We still have a homeless problem, and mental health, a lot of mental health concerns in our community. And I know you all know this from working with your own workforce. Too many people are still without health insurance. It impacts our workforce. You know, the governor's trying to address that gap, the folks who aren't a part of affordable care and not a part of Medicaid as it exists now. We know that we have a problem at the state level with the gas tax, and that is impacting addressing our future transportation needs and public transit needs. And we faced this last year with the legislature, the Hall tax cuts, that the Hall tax was cut and is going to be reduced for the next 5 years, I think. It won't impact us this year, but in the future years it will. And that means that we're going to have to look at either the services, reducing services, or finding ways to increase revenue. Hopefully a lot of that comes to the growth that we are seeing, but it's going to put a real strain on governments and on the state, by the way, a huge impact on the state as well, or their ability to educate and to address other issues. And the other thing is next year, 5 of our 9 council members are up for our term limited, and there will be elections and 5 new people coming on. 5 out of 9. That's scary to me. That's a majority. And we want to make sure that we get good people who are running for those seats. So I hope everyone will pay attention to that, because what we have been able to do, not only through Mayor Haslam and Mayor Brown and then our administration, was because we had a council that understood we need to invest, we need to focus on our community and making it better and addressing these kind of issues. So I encourage you all to run for office and to get behind people who you think might be good and progressive to keep our city moving in this direction. So I'm going to stop. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'd love to answer any kinds of questions you might have.
When I'm flying back into McGee Tyson, I always look over and see your picture. Welcome me back to.
Yeah. Welcome to my city. I'm proud of this.
There may be a false appearance that we have a lot of very inexpensive flights to recreation areas, whether it be Florida or whatever, but I just wonder from a business perspective, it still seems extremely expensive relative to other cities. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you you see on that front.
Yeah. We're actually working on that, the CAP program, Competitive Air Partnership. Doug Lawyer is really heading that up for us. It's a partnership between the county, the city, several other counties in the region, and corporations. How many people do we have signed up?
We have 47 private corporations and 47 partners that signed on to help us with CAP.
Right. And so our goal is to recruit a low fare air carrier in here, a big one who could provide some good competition to help bring the rates down for everybody. And it's something we're actively pursuing. That might be something that the chamber would want to have Doug talk about at a future event. But yeah, so we're actually working on that. And if you are a corporation that wants to be a part of that, please contact Doug Lawyer. We'd love to have you with us. But we recognize the problem. Other questions, comments? Mayor Brown.
Talking about the elections, do you have your thoughts on how to increase the number of people that turn out to vote in our local?
Yeah, well, it's harder during the when there's not a mayoral race. You know, like in 3.5 years, there will be a mayor's race, and it's an open seat. And so when there's a lot of competition and people are working, the campaigns are out there and working hard, then you end up getting more attention. It's, in order to get people to turn out, you have to have candidates that are raising issues, that are talking and out there organizing a campaign. And you need people who are interested in the outcome. So we hope to really raise the awareness over these next 2 years that we do have a race. And so we want to help recruit good people. We want to encourage people to get out there. We're going to provide all kinds of information to candidates about local government so they understand what we are doing. And but it takes a curious and activated constituency, and it helps when you have races that are reaching out, candidates that are reaching out to the people. But it's a two-way street, we all should care who gets elected in 2 years, which means that we should be going to the events, following who's running, and then getting out and voting. David?
The timetable on the Cumberland Avenue strip project.
Yeah. August of next year. We have about 1 year left. Remember, Cumberland Avenue is open for business. Please go and support those merchants. We're actually, we finished phase 1. It was on time and under budget, and we are hoping that anticipating the same with phase 2. We've got a lot of good work going on there. It's going to be a world of difference once it gets done. One thing I tell people is that everywhere you go, there are orange construction cones, and that the orange cone is our new city flower. That's a good thing. So every time when you see that orange construction cone and you see a KUB truck, or you see a city truck, or you see hopefully one of your firms out there doing the work, don't call me all mad. You can do that if you want, but I'm going to explain to you if you need to get it off your chest. But I'm going to explain to you that this is progress. This is good. And we really do try to, if you see a problem, if we need to, if we've missed something in terms of making it less stressful on you, on your daily commute, then we want to work with you. We want to know that. But there are a lot of inconveniences right now, but this is the price of having this reinvestment in our city. And Cumberland Avenue is a great example of that. Any other questions?
Comment, just hats off to you and your team for the downtown signage project you did within the last couple of years. A few years ago, we went to Greenville, South Carolina, and I noticed their signage downtown. It was wonderful. But now to experience it daily or regularly, it's just great. I just hats off to you. I mean, our business
Thank you.
have to love it.
Yeah, it's a wayfinding project. It was something that took, because of the source of funding, which was federal dollars, lesson learned, use local dollars next time. It took a long time on that particular project. So, but yes, it's thank you for recognizing that. Also, you be careful and recognize we have new parking policies downtown. We have 5,000 spaces in the garages. If any of you have been to any other cities, particularly, a lot of other cities, it's a lot more expensive to park downtown than here. It's more expensive to park on the street. We have plenty of parking, and we are upgrading our parking meters. There are limits. Be attuned to that. We are enforcing our parking, and it's the only way to be fair to everybody and to make sure that our merchants, particularly on the streets, we're enforcing. We need to make sure that our merchants who are downtown, that they have the turnover that is needed. If you're going to be more than 2 hours, I think most of our spots are now 2 hours or will be. If you're going to be more than 2 hours, there are lots of parking spaces, and Fred Langley just built a new parking garage right next to Market Square Garage in partnership with the city, and we have free nights and weekends, and there's public space during the day as well. And yes, and part of the Regal the Regal development or redevelopment down there, and the new luxury apartments and such that are coming in. There's also, the city owns the garage, all that parking there, and that will also be open to the public, in addition to serving the needs of the tenants there and owners of the property. Anything else? Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to do this work.